He slammed the brakes when a desperate, broken cry tore through the empty road. Behind him, a tiny puppy, starving, wounded, and barely able to stand, was chasing his motorcycle with its last bit of life. Not running from danger, but running toward hope, toward the only person who could save it. The morning sun stretched across the quiet countryside road as Daniel rode his old motorcycle toward the next town. It was supposed to be an ordinary journey, nothing more than wind, distance, and silence. But halfway up a long hill, he felt something unusual, a strange tug of awareness that made him glance into his side mirror. At first, he saw nothing, just the empty asphalt glimmering behind him. Then, a tiny shape appeared, moving fast. He slowed slightly, squinting. That's when he realized a small puppy was sprinting after him with every ounce of energy it had. Its little legs stumbled, yet it pushed forward, refusing to give up. Confused, Daniel pulled to the side. The puppy kept running, tail trembling, determined to reach him. Daniel stepped off his motorcycle just as the tiny puppy reached him, collapsing onto the pavement with a soft whimper. Its sides heaved rapidly, each breath a desperate gasp, yet its tail wagged weakly the moment it looked up at him. Dirt clung to its fur, and its paws were scraped raw. But still it tried to stand, stumbling toward his boots as if begging him not to leave. Kneeling beside it, Daniel gently ran his hand along the trembling little body, searching for any sign of a collar or tag. There was nothing, no identity, no clue, no hint of where it had come from. Only wide, pleading eyes filled with exhaustion and hope. The puppy nudged his hand again, letting out a tiny cry that pierced straight through Daniel's chest. He hadn't expected to feel anything, but in that moment, something inside him shifted. Daniel stood up, unsure of what to do. He took a slow step back toward his motorcycle, but the moment he moved, the puppy let out a sharp, heart-wrenching whine. Its tiny legs shook as it struggled to stand again, determined to follow him no matter how much pain it was in. Daniel paused, torn out. He tried again, just testing. And once more, the puppy limped after him, crying softly each time he drifted farther away. It wasn't just following him. It was clinging to him, desperate not to be left alone. The realization hit him like a punch. This little creature had no one. No owner, no home, no safety waiting somewhere down the road. A heaviness settled in his chest. Memories stirred, of a dog he once loved, and of a loss he had never fully healed from. He clenched his jaw, trying to resist. But the puppy's pleading eyes made that impossible. Daniel let out a long breath, realizing he couldn't walk away, not from this tiny creature who had run itself nearly to collapse just to reach him. Slowly, he crouched down again. The puppy wobbled forward, pressing its head against his hand as if it had been waiting for that moment all along. All right, he muttered, more to himself than to the puppy. Carefully, he lifted the small, frail body into his arms. The puppy relaxed instantly, curling against his chest with a soft sigh, trusting him without hesitation. That simple trust tugged at something deep inside him. He wrapped the puppy in an old cloth he kept on the bike and placed it gently on the seat in front of him. As he started the engine, the puppy clung to him, tiny paws gripping his jacket. Their unexpected journey had just begun. Daniel rode slowly, mindful of the fragile passenger nestled against him. The countryside road stretched ahead in quiet curves, the wind brushing gently over them both. Every few moments, he glanced down to check on the puppy. Its eyes peeked out from the cloth, wide with curiosity despite the exhaustion weighing on its tiny body. As they rolled through the outskirts of a small town, people turned their heads, smiling at the sight of the little pup riding proudly on the motorcycle. Daniel stopped near a small roadside shop and bought a bottle of water and a packet of soft biscuits. Setting the puppy on his lap, he offered a small piece. The pup devoured it instantly, its hunger heartbreaking. Daniel watched silently as it ate, realizing just how long it must have been alone. A knot tightened in his chest. He couldn't just abandon it now. After feeding the puppy, Daniel knew the next stop had to be the town's small veterinary clinic. The bell above the door jingled softly as he stepped inside, holding the pup close. The vet, an older woman with gentle eyes, immediately noticed the puppy's condition and ushered them into an exam room. She examined the tiny body with careful hands, her expression growing more serious the longer she looked. "He's severely underfed," she said quietly. "Dehydrated. And he's been on his own for quite a while." Daniel felt a dull ache in his chest. The vet continued checking the puppy, then paused. You said he followed you? Daniel nodded. Then he must have been desperate, she murmured. Puppies don't run that far unless they're terrified, or unless they see someone they believe will help them. Daniel looked down at the puppy, now curled weakly in his lap. Its tiny heartbeat fluttered against his hand. The vet's next words struck him deeply. He chose you as his last hope. As Daniel sat in the clinic's waiting room, the vet's words lingered in his mind. He chose you. That simple sentence pulled at memories he had buried long ago. He stared at the trembling puppy in his arms. And suddenly, he wasn't in the clinic anymore. He was back in his old home, sitting beside the dog he once loved more than anything. Her name had been Daisy. Loyal, protective, always by his side. She had saved his life once during a late-night accident, dragging him out of danger despite her own injuries. But in the end, he couldn't save her. Losing her shattered something inside him. After that day, he vowed never to take in another dog. The pain had been too much. Yet now, looking at this tiny creature who had chased him for kilometers, Daniel felt that old wall beginning to crack. Daniel left the clinic carrying the puppy gently against his chest. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with soft orange light as he rode home. Once inside, he set the puppy down on the living room floor. The little one sniffed everything with wide-eyed excitement, its tiny tail wagging like it had finally found a safe place to breathe, trying to stay detached. Daniel bought a few essentials from the nearby store: puppy food, a small blanket, and a simple leash. He kept telling himself it was temporary, just until he found someone else to take the dog. But when he gave the puppy a warm bath, it looked up at him with absolute trust, leaning its tiny body into his hands. Later, Daniel placed a soft blanket in a corner, but the puppy ignored it and curled up directly on his lap, falling asleep instantly. Daniel didn't move. He couldn't. Days turned into weeks, and what Daniel kept calling a temporary arrangement slowly grew into something neither of them could ignore. The puppy, now a little stronger, a little braver, followed him everywhere. When Daniel cooked, it sat at his feet. When he worked on his motorcycle, it dozed beside the toolbox. And every morning, it greeted him with a wagging tail that seemed far too enthusiastic for such a tiny body. Daniel found himself laughing again. Real, unexpected laughter he hadn't felt in years. He taught the puppy simple commands, amazed at how quickly it learned. Before long, the little dog rode confidently in a small carrier Daniel attached to the motorcycle, poking its head out to feel the rushing wind. One evening, as the pup curled beside him on the couch, Daniel whispered the name Rusty. The puppy perked up instantly, as if it had been waiting for a name all along. And just like that, they became a family. Looking at Rusty sleeping peacefully beside him, Daniel realized something profound. The tiny puppy who ran 3 exhausting kilometers wasn't just searching for safety. He was searching for someone. And in choosing Daniel, he gave them both a second chance. Rusty had filled the quiet spaces in his life with warmth he didn't know he needed. Daniel often wondered what might have happened if he hadn't stopped that day. The answer always reminded him to trust those unexpected moments life sends. Sometimes, the ones who need saving end up saving us right back, and Rusty was living proof of that truth.